I have been pondering this since I started about a year and a half ago. I started writing my last book, I think it's the 7th or 8th book in the series, The Hidden History of Neoliberalism, How Reaganism Gutted America and How to Restore Its Greatness. And I think this is one of the most important books I've ever written. And in this book, my new book on neoliberalism, The Hidden History of Neoliberalism, I lay out how neoliberalism came about in the United States, how it was embraced by the Republican Party, how, by Ronald Reagan in 1981, how it then became to be embraced by the Democratic Party in 1992 by Bill Clinton, and the damage that it has done in those 40 years to this country. And I wrap the book up, and I also talk about how, we imposed neoliberalism on Russia, and, it brought us Putin. We imposed neoliberalism on Chile, it brought us Pinochet, et cetera, the damage it's done around the world, and how China rejected neoliberalism in the early 90s. When they had an opportunity to embrace it, they said, no, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go with Alexander Hamilton's American plan, only we're going to do a Chinese version of it. And thus, they became the second largest economy in the world. But the question in my mind has been, and I talk about this in the last chapter of The Hidden History of Neoliberalism, is when is the Democratic Party going to fully repudiate neoliberalism? Neoliberalism being that political economic model that says that free markets are everything, therefore corporations should be free or even incentivized to move their manufacturing offshore. Donald Trump, his $1.7 trillion tax cut included a provision that said that if an American manufacturer moved a factory to Mexico, they got a tax break for doing that. In other words, Trump, of course, was a neoliberal. This is the essence of neoliberalism, is, so-called free trade, gutting the social safety net, all these things that are basically historically Reaganism. Reaganism and neoliberalism are the same thing. And so my question, and the question I've been asking myself, and we've been talking about on this program now for several years, is when will the Democratic Party kind of more or less officially repudiate neoliberalism? And I just wanted to share with you a quote from Pete Buttigieg. I mentioned this yesterday, I didn't have the quote, that in my mind, and I realize, David Sirota over at The Lever is just trash-talking Buttigieg like there's no tomorrow, accusing him of still being a neoliberal. And notwithstanding that, and I get that, and I don't disagree that Buttigieg should have done a whole lot more with the airlines than he did early on, and probably should be doing more with them right now than he is. But nonetheless, this is a quote from Pete Buttigieg that I think is fascinating. And this is recent. This is from a piece in The Guardian, an interview that The Guardian conducted on December 31st, or they published it on December 31st. He said, and I quote, "The beginning of the Reagan era brought about a vicious cycle of public trust, where resources were stripped away from the government. It became harder for government to deliver for people, and then those policy failures reduced trust in government, which made people more reluctant to trust their taxpayer dollars to government, which meant even fewer resources and even worse results. The cycle of disinvestment has been accumulating for essentially my entire lifetime, and part of what's so exciting about this moment is a chance to reestablish public trust by making big investments to get big results, to build public confidence in the things we can do together through good public policy and good public investment." End of quote. That sounds to me like Buttigieg declaring, if not the end of neoliberalism, at least that he and his friends and people in the Democratic Party are figuring its time has passed. It's time to phase this stuff out.